Kevin, what's the best mollusk to eat?
Oh, it's oysters. That's an easy call. Like a cushy oyster from British Columbia, Canada, is one of the great. Is just one of the great items in the culinary world.
You're talking to a New England boy. Give me a good clam. I'm a big fan of clams.
Too much work. Too much work.
Too much work. You know what? I'm okay with it. It's that delicious. But you know what? Oyster's a good call too. I thought about, there's a lot of potential mollusks here. I wasn't quite aware that octopus and squid fall into this category as well. But I know, Kevin, you're not a fan of eating octopus. Your preference, right?
That's not because of the texture. It's because they're very smart. They're very smart animals. And I loved octopus, and I used to eat it a lot. I did a segment on The Jump about how much I enjoyed octopus during that Phil Jackson. There was some octopus gate in the NBA at one point during the summer. And but I learned that they are very smart, and so I stopped eating them.
Yeah. It's very honorable. I like that. Scallops also in there. I know you love a good scallop too. So this was probably a little difficult to go through, but oysters is a great pick here. You know what? I'm with you. Big fan. This is Pack Your Knives. I'm Tom Haberstroh.
I'm Kevin Arnovitz.
And we've got an incredible episode here of Pack Your Knives, because not only, Kevin, are you here for your second week in a row, we've got Buddha Lowe, two-time champion, repeat champion of Top Chef, who is on this episode of Top Chef at a really fun episode with a lot of thrill-seeking and heights. I don't know if you're afraid of heights, but I do know that Buddha Lowe, this episode, this challenge, the elimination challenge, was kind of tailor-made for him, and I can't wait to talk to him later in this episode about it.
It was the absolutely appropriate episode to have Buddha Lowe, who one of the great, I think, Top Chef stunts of all time, Tom, of season 20, that charcuterie plate where everything was disguised as something it wasn't, and it is truly one of the great, in terms of production value, dishes and meals that Chef Teston has ever served. I think it's in the Hall of Fame.
It is, and I can't wait to talk to him about it, because he seems smitten by Massimo's Wellington, or the trout and crude, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, this was a dish that I think a version of this that Buddha had made in the Wellington episode in World All-Stars as well. So just like, you could tell that Buddha and Massimo were just on the same wavelength. They were vibing. So I can't wait to talk to Buddha about this episode, his appearance as the guest chef, along with Greg Tarzan Davis, the actor, the Mission Impossible theme where they had to do a stunt on a plate. But first, we start with the quick fire, which we're getting down to. You know, when you're getting into the nitty gritty here is when Gail and Tom have joined Kristen at the quick fire challenge kitchen. So Kevin, are you a fan of this? I feel like we did spend a lot of time talking about the gamesmanship and the kind of the construct of the quick fire challenge, no longer being just a guest judge, but Tom and Gail are coming in to incorporate the quick fire challenge to be part of their overall judgment in the elimination and the winner of the episode. So Kevin, did this catch you by surprise? It did for me a little bit.
That's my surprise. I'm very torn about this policy, right? So on one hand, I like the fact that the quick fire is incentivized even beyond money. Right. Like, I like that it matters, because I do think there is a species of Top Chef contestant who's sort of like, hey, quick fires are nice. They're good confidence builders. They're exhibition games. But at the end of the day, you really can't, there's no penalty other than perception or, just good old fashioned reputation or whatever. So I like the idea of putting something very, very essential to your survival on the line so that you perform in the quickfire. On the other hand, and we'll talk about it later, I don't love it being, I think an elimination dish should be judged on the merits of that dish and not an extra. I'm a strict constructionist on that question, right? And so I don't love that there are people going home for dishes that they wouldn't otherwise, or people who are surviving who wouldn't otherwise because of something they did the day before or 2 days before in an entirely different competition. And I'm torn because I do like the incentive, but I don't love the outcome at the judges' table.
Well, here's my take. I appreciate the incentive structure where you have something in the quick fire that will have an influence on whether you stay or go home in the elimination challenge. What I really care about, though, is consistency and the integrity of it.
Right.
If you're going to put this as a policy, you have to hold yourself to it in the elimination challenge. And that's one thing I really enjoyed about this episode, is that they did hold themselves accountable on that. Been like, hey, Lana won the quickfire, and Cesar was in the bottom. His quickfire fell flat with his beets steamed and beet juice with coconut fat, grilled toast with the mussels. I was happy about that because I remember there was some consternation last season, Kevin, where it felt like they weren't holding the integrity of the quickfire mattering for the elimination challenge, and this one they really stuck to it.
Right. In other words, they kind of in the past they've reversed engineered a decision. You use the quickfire challenge if it's like it's the old thing in the NBA, right? When you ask the head coach, like, do you rely on analytics? And he's like, when it supports my argument, I do, and when I don't, I don't. Right? Like you the judges sort of they will invoke the quickfire when it helps their case and conveniently ignore it when it doesn't.
Right. And so Lana comes in with this Italian sub, and shout out to Magical Elves for the production and the edit, because the way that Tom was eating that bread, I just felt like it was too crunchy, and I felt a little anxious for Lana because as much as I love the ingredients and the thought, I kind of don't like a crunchy sub disc with toppings on it. It feels hard to eat. Like if I bite into it, then everything kind of like a bruschetta, where it kind of like flip the toppings almost flip in the air if you bite down too hard, because it just like kind of boomerangs into your face. And I kind of felt that way about that dish, but she ends up winning, Kevin, so it didn't have that kind of factor in it.
Yeah, ease of use is one of those funny things in food, right? Like, I live with someone who won't touch a dish if it's just too difficult to eat. Right. Like, or people don't like
house it?
Hands or getting housed. Like, I don't care. Right. Like, I will get messy. I am somebody, ironically, I'm kind of the neat freak in every other phase of life. But when it comes to food, it's sort of, that's where I abandon it. And, because the ease of use is a really interesting thing. And then you'll hear certain judges say, oh, it was very difficult to eat. Like Gail at times say it was very difficult to eat. She'll comment on a dish. And, I don't want to do, and there's a different category. Like, I don't want to do a lot of work. Like, I don't want to get the crackers out for the crab and start working to get like 1/2 of an ounce of meat, and it takes me 10 minutes. But in terms of mess, I don't mind mess. Like, I don't mind a thing falling apart if it tastes great.
I just feel like with a dish like a bruschetta, I had this debate in my head: do I bite into it or do I just house it in one whole bite? Because it is kind of in that. Yeah. So that's not what Tom did, or I don't think the judges did just one bite move. They just completely, put the whole thing in there. But I would say the edit was great because she ends up winning this one for the flavors, the Italian sub with olives and capers. I mean, all those ingredients are very, very up my alley. I loved the sound and the flavors of that dish. I just was a little, I was a little nervous about just how crunchy it was, but Tom loved it, and if Tom loves your Italian sub dish, I think it was delicious, right, Kev?
Yeah, I thought the quickfire was a really interesting window into all the chefs. Every once in a while, there's a quickfire that kind of shows some of the strengths and weaknesses, right? Like, we got a little bit of a preview of one of Cesar's a wonderful chef, but he does have a couple of kind of Achilles heels, right? One of which is balance, right? He has done stuff that is conceptually interesting, but it's a little off. A smoked salmon cappuccino, right? Obviously, and we'll talk about the elimination. Another dish that was too sweet. Here was sort of the coconut beet. That's a sweeter dish. That's a weakness. Bailey's been on a roll and had a great elimination. There are times where, and I think often to her to her benefit. It's usually in quickfire, maybe more so than the elimination, but there isn't enough going on, right? Like time got away from her, or the process of conceiving and executing. So she does this onion mescal mussel with black garlic aioli and chilled apple pop, which kind of lovely flavors and everything. Yeah. But there just was a little less going on than there needed to be. There was a piece of texture missing, right? It was sort of a broth and the thing. And then on the other hand, you have like Tristen, right? Where not only does he do the zucchini blossom, but and you see Tom credit him for using the mussel to create a vinaigrette and to create an emulsion. Like he does these very chefy things that are just chef bait. And I don't even want to, I feel weird about saying it in that way because it seems to suggest, he's doing something gimmicky. He's not. He is being a chef in all of his chefiness, right? So it was very interesting. Like it was I like the quickfire. Also, I just love mussels. They're not oysters, but they're damn good, and I do love I love mussels in any form.
Yeah, PEI mussels for sure. It was really cool to have that. I kind of, it wasn't top of mind when I was watching Top Chef Destination Canada. Like, when are they going to do the PEI mussels episode? But they brought it out here, and Massimo we had a Top Chef squash blossoms off here. With they almost did the same exact dish. They even had an emulsion. Instead, Massimo did the tomato emulsion. And I wanted to get your opinion here because Carly Levitz at packyourknives.com on the Substack. Go subscribe if you haven't already.
He was just doing fantastic work. Carly is just killing it. I love those posts. It feeds my sort of inner stat geek, like early Hollinger and Rob Nyer kind of. It's so much.
So good. And one thing she just hit this week was a post about, Tristen's run and where it ranks all time, not just the last few episodes, but the whole entire season. And he turns out he's like top 3 all time through Restaurant Wars at this stage of the season. But one thing she pointed out that was really interesting was Massimo and Cesar have kind of traded places in this competition. Massimo, before even this episode, was trending way up, that he was crashing the contender party in ways that Cesar was up there and then has kind of fallen off. And then this episode, of course, Cesar gets sent home. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Massimo and Tristen doing the same squash blossom dish in a sense, kind of felt like almost a symbolic thing, because it does feel like Massimo is really trending at the right time here. Is he's entering the competition, the contender party, and later just blowing the mind of Buddha Low is a great harbinger for your ability to win in this competition. I didn't have him as a real serious contender a few weeks ago, but now the numbers back this up from Carly's analysis, and I do think that I can see it. I can see him being a dark horse in this competition.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, technique can win, particularly I think in the Kristen Kish empire. Like I do think that he's got some tricks, and it'd be interesting. I'd love to know if the trout and crude is something he's done before, and it's sort of a, I do think these chefs arrive with a few intentions to kind of execute specific dishes, and I wonder, but I mean, it looked wonderful, and we'll get to it. But Massimo is, I think he's got some game. I think we're now at the consistency portion of the show where it's just, how often do you play error-free ball? And that can carry you into contention. And then do you have just enough flourish and high enough ceiling to actually, once it gets beyond that, and where you aren't going home for bad stuff, but stuff that simply isn't good enough. And I mean, I've got him as a dark horse. I probably rank him behind Vinny. Mm-hmm. I think at this point, it's, Bailey's a tough one for me. She's so skilled, and she is sort of the, like I like her floor. The question is ceiling. And then the elimination suggests that it's higher than I might have thought before the week started. But there's sort of that next cluster, and I think it's sort of ceilings and floors, and I think Massimo has clearly more margin has more potential for error, and he also has these high ceiling flourishes like the trout and crude.
So rather than rush through the elimination challenge here, Kev, why don't we save these questions or our thoughts on elimination challenge for Buddha when he arrives here momentarily? Because I don't want to go too quickly in terms of the in terms of our thoughts on Elimination Challenge. But let's spend a little moment here talking about, are you a thrill seeker, Kevin? I can't remember. Like, are you a guy who, if you were supposed to walk on the edge of the CN Tower to gain a benefit or gain an advantage in a reality TV show competition, would you be like Massimo and Lana, that were a little skittish about going to the edge there? Or you're like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I got this. No problem.
I mean, I don't love heights. I bungee jumped in Queenstown, New Zealand in 2004 and, found it to be an interesting, like, just adrenaline. Like, it's like, what was really interesting about it is my friend wanted to do it. I was like, if we're going to do it, I have one condition. We have to do it first thing in the morning. Like, I'm not going to think about this all day. Like, we got to be out there. Like, they open at 8. Let's just do it at 8. And he was like, all right, cool. And I was terrified. I did it. It was pretty cool. Not something I need to do again, but what was really interesting is we went back to like where we were staying, and I had so much adrenaline that morning, and we went to like wineries and everything after that. It was really fun. I mean, like the hours after it is sort of like the hours of getting out of the cryo chamber. Like your body is just tingling for hours afterwards. But like we went back after lunch at like 3. And the next thing I know, like I woke up and it was 9 p.m. Like I napped for 6 hours. I was like, and like my friend Mike was just like, hey man, I was like, time for dinner. He's like, yeah, it's late, but like, there's probably, I was like, wait, what time is it? And, but I probably would do it. I mean, the rationale I always have is whenever I get terrified and I don't love heights, I just remember that like, this is a Canadian company and they're not going to tolerate anyone falling off a building. And so you just try to rationalize like, okay, this is going to be a really unpleasant, terrifying experience, but I'm not going to die because, no one dies doing this, right? Like nobody does, right? Like they've got you in this silly red costume and your belay and whatever else I don't know, the harness and everything. Like I'm just going to do it. And yeah, I'm not going to turn down an advantage in a competition. I mean, like I'm not going to and also I'm not going to be seen on on national television as like forfeiting an advantage because I didn't want to like, thrust my chest out into a harness. Like I'm just not going to do, but I'm not going to enjoy it either.
It's 1,000 feet in the air. It's 116 stories. So like we can all say, like, it's like the old Mike Tyson line. Like everyone's got a plan until he got punched in the face.
Yes.
So I feel like I would go up there and be like, you know what? It's fine. I'm connected. The insurance policy and all of the safety measures that they had to go through, and even in order to open up this trapeziac that they have up there, I couldn't be more safe. I'm probably more safe up here than I am just walking the streets of Montreal or Toronto.
Right.
I just
feel like you rationalize it that way, right? Like that's what we do.
So I feel like I would have done it. The whole kind of put your arms back and lean forward, that was really cool to see. That was wild. You never know until you get up there. But that was the construct was you get 2 advantages, $75 of extra budget to shop if you complete the little lap around the edge. And then if you do that lean forward and lean back, you get an extra 30 minutes to cook. But Massimo doesn't have it. He doesn't get the extra 30 minutes, and he still wins the damn competition anyway, the elimination challenge.
Right, and that's interesting, right? Like it speaks to the relative value of that advantage, right? Like what does it say that the person, like, did anyone else not, I forget, did anyone else
Lana didn't have it either, yeah.
Right, all right. And in her case, it wasn't an issue of time or money. Wait, so they don't get the extra 75? Is that what it is?
No, they don't get
everyone got the 75.
30, the 30 minutes, they didn't get the 30 minutes extra. And so they were kind of, rather than getting 30 minutes, it's almost like they were docked 30 minutes. Because everyone else got it. So they had to kind of start on a little bit of a delay. But Massimo, he was afraid of heights, and maybe that adrenaline kind of carried through on this episode because he knocked us out of the park. I would say that I felt a little nervous about Tristen. I got to be honest. When he was kind of seemed like he was in a way that I hadn't seen much this season, that he was struggling conceptually with his plan.
Yeah.
Is like he kind of felt like he was inside his own head or just trying to find that muse.
Right. No. There was an interesting comment he said during the shopping thing where I wish there was more time to conceptualize. Right. And there is a sense that he does very high concept things, but he wants time to consider what he's doing. And, which I kind of really respect. I mean, one of the things that I think would drive me crazy about being a contestant on this show in any craft is just like, wait, just give me a second to think, right? You just like that, like coming up with good ideas requires quiet. And if you're not a mental multitasker, and I am not a multi, I cannot have a bunch of creative pursuits going on at the same time. Like I do neither, none of them well. And, maybe he's kind of like that, but that was interesting. You're right. I mean, but I also think it just speaks to the fact that he's got this, right? Like there's very little you could do in terms of impediments and hurdles that could make him botch a challenge at this point. Like it's just almost impossible for me to conceive in any field larger than 2 or 3 at this point, Tristen coming in last. Yes. Like he's just going to outrun the bear every time. I mean, there's just not, or outrun the person who's not outrunning. Like it's just, he's so ridiculously competent at this point.
Yeah. And I thought given that Massimo didn't have that 30 minutes, I would have pegged him and Lana at a severe disadvantage. And it reminds me, there's this, the U.S. Whitewater Center, the National Whitewater Center is here in Charlotte, and it's got these amazing ropes courses, not just rafting and whitewater rafting and canoeing, kayaking, all these great outdoor sports here. There's a 100-foot drop, Kevin. There's a thing that you can do that's, just 100 feet.
Wait, is this
bungee
like for
jump.
Rafting and stuff? Like there's an artificial river, like when you say the Whitewater, is it like
the Whitewater Center is it's a U.S. National Whitewater Center that all of the Olympians, they train here in Charlotte before they go off into their Olympic runs. So we have it's by the Catawba River here in North Carolina, and they have an artificial, like pretty intense whitewater here in, it's not quite the mountains, but it's the closest thing that Charlotte has to the mountains, and it's between here and Asheville. And I'm going there this Sunday. It's a great place to go and take kids. And what's interesting is I took Madeline. She's 8 years old, and she's of age that she's allowed to do the 100-foot drop. And you're attached to this thing. And I was like, "Are you ready?" You climb like 8-10 flight of stairs to go up there, and you can see just forever in North Carolina. It's beautiful up there. I was like way more nervous than I thought I'd be. Madeline couldn't care less. She was like ready to do it. And when the instructor strapped her in and was like, "Are you ready?" on the count of 3, there was no delay. She just jumped off. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm wondering if like what Massimo said about, I have kids and a family that I got to think about. I'm wondering if like fear of heights, is that a learned thing, or do you think that's like a genetic thing? Is that nature or nurture? Like, do they all have a fear of heights? Or, I mean, do they all not have this sense of this fear going up on heights? Or is that something that you learn as you get older, that like you have this sense of mortality? I don't know. Do you have a thought on this? Is that a learned thing?
No, but I remember like, I think it's how your brain works and how you assess physical risk, and just sort of, I think it's probably brain matter, but this is so above my pay grade. I'm just not anybody with any sort of neurological understanding.
Are your parents afraid of heights, Kevin?
God, I never thought about it for a second. I mean, we've gone up in a gondola, like ski. I think, we went skiing once in Colorado when I was a kid. We went like 1 or 2 times, and like, I don't remember a chairlift being an issue. And I remember like, my sister was much more daredevil-y than I was. I was somebody who had to kind of study but I don't recall, but I know, I must be brain functioning.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I would have done it. I would have been okay. Kevin, without further ado, let's just bring him in. Budalo, 2-time Top Chef winner. He's at HUSO in Tribeca now at his restaurant. And you're a father of twins. You're doing it all right now, Buddha, including joining us on Pack Your Knives once again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I mean, I'm definitely deep in the weeds for sure. New restaurant, twins, New York City. I mean, it has definitely been an ongoing challenge since Top Chef. I finished Top Chef All Stars, but I mean, I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah, so you got the elimination challenge here. Can you give us some background on you joining the show on this particular episode? Because it seems like this was in your wheelhouse, Buddha.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they have. I mean, the producers have this sort of, uh, you know, specific challenges that they want me to come and judge, which is fine. I still want to do a restaurant wars and a finale because I do feel like those are my specialties as well. I just think those are the two episodes where you just have to know it. If you don't know what you're doing by then, I don't know what you're doing on the show. You know, everyone has to have an idea, some sort of menu. But yeah, definitely another challenge that is a little bit more thought provoking. That's why I ended up judging this challenge in Toronto.
Yeah, you did of course, I immediately thought of the famous trompe l'oeil, deceiving the eye challenge that you famously won with your charcuterie plate. Right.
Yes.
I mean, it was sort of the ultimate stunt. I'm always torn a little bit about these because on one hand, I don't really go in for gimmicks.
Yep.
On the other hand, like your charcuterie plate with your glass of wine that was actually a beef onion broth and the bread that was actually a mushroom and the meatball that was a cherry. Like it is one of the great, I mean, we were talking about, it was like one of the great Hall of Fame Top Chef wins on an individual basis.
Yeah. The trompe l'oeil challenge, I mean, for me, it was just like, at it. When I finished that challenge, I looked at it and the best dish that I've ever done on Top Chef. Like it was hands down. I did not think that I would pull everything together. The setting of the location, you know, we're in this castle. It was exactly how I wanted to portray it. And if I did that dish in that sort of presentation, it wouldn't make sense in any other dining room.
Right.
So it couldn't have got more perfect. And I don't think any compliment for a dish has ever been, you know, compared to a Renaissance painting in Top Chef history. But that was definitely something that I was going for, and I'm glad that that was a comment that had those had at the judges' table for sure.
Did you come into this season of Top Chef knowing any of the chefs, or were they all new names for you?
Everyone but Vinny. I knew Vinny. That's it. Me and Vinny, we worked at, I'm pretty sure it's probably been shown that we worked together at 11 Matson Park for maybe 3 to 4 months. He came in as a sous chef, just finishing up at the Nomad. And as a J1 cook, I mean, you don't really get promoted at all, so you will just stay as a cook. And he was the person that was kind of leading the line. But yeah, that's the only person. I knew Byron Gomez from Portland. But I mean, apart from that, and I also know Henry, mind you. I do know Henry. I've, hanging out with him whenever me and Evelyn had an event together. He was kind of generally always there. So
that's right. Yeah,
he was there, but I don't know him as much as I do Vinny. I know Vinny. Like we've had beers and whatnot after work at Lab Matson Park. So yeah.
Did you?
Call him Cuzzy because he's because of the Cousin Vinny movie.
Oh yeah, one of the best movies and one of the best comedies ever. By the way, that's special. So you're Buddha. You're coming into Toronto, Top Chef Canada. Did you have any thoughts about what you wanted to see from a Canadian season of Top Chef? You being a Top Chefologist and a scholar of Top Chef, was there anything in Canada that you were hoping to eat, or anything that you were curious this season to see what the chefs did before we jump into this episode?
I mean, this season's been pretty interesting in terms of challenges. I would not be prepared for a pizza challenge by any means.
Why not?
The Hawaiian pizza threw me off. I didn't do any Googles on Canada. I didn't know that Hawaiian pizza was invented in Canada.
No one knew.
Yeah, I mean, you could really show in the episode. None of the chefs were prepared for pizzas. Everyone was struggling to do it, and it's a very specific style of cooking. It's just because you're a chef doesn't mean that you're a master butcher. If I put a whole cow in front of you, are you going to be able to break it down as good as a butcher? Are you going to make pizza as good as as someone who's done pizzas for all their career? Absolutely not. As chefs, we tend to put our fingers in many different things, but doesn't mean that you're a master in it. It's the same thing that if we could say that next challenge will be sushi. Can you perform at that same sort of height as Morimoto and doing a full sushi omakase? Probably not. But do you know how to slice fish? Do you know how to cook rice? Yeah, absolutely, but not to that level. So there's some specific sort of skills that need more refinement and more deep diving and experience. And pizza is definitely one of those things. But in terms of like Canadian challenges, I mean, like once again, I didn't Google everything, but I would have Googled a lot of it if I was to be on the show.
Yeah, of course.
They kind of hit everything as they would at the start: maple syrup, poutine, and once you start to get all those things out of the way, Jamaican patties, then it's kind of like a Top Chef free for all. You know, that's when they start throwing trompe l'oeil challenges, double ganger challenges, and you have to be ready for those sort of things.
Kevin, were you as excited to see Buddha light up with joy with the salmon Wellington or the trout and croute? It was awesome to see Buddha just light up like a Christmas tree. It was great.
Yeah, going back to your pizza thing. I mean, it's interesting. You could see the reverence everyone had for his dough, and it was such a chefy moment because it is, you know, it's a reminder that this is still, it's a conceptual challenge, but it's also a technical challenge. And I also, you know, as a like as a home chef, it was sort of like, it was also just like, you just forget how like, can you talk about you guys were impressed because it is just, I imagine it's just an incredibly difficult thing to do in that amount of time. And what was the just nature of the holy cow, how did you pull that off quality?
Oh, wow. So we heard about the advantages, and I believe Massimo didn't even go for the second advantage. That's even more of a flex. But it's just like, it's very daring to pull off a salmon Wellington like that, just because you're making your own dough. You're already short of time. You have to make sure that the proteins rest. And literally, there's nothing else to hide. Like, if you slice it, it's overcooked, it's not done well, you're going home automatically. It's like it's a fine line that you cross right there, and you don't know until you actually cut it. And yes, you can make a couple spares and cut a couple extra along the way, but when you're really, you know, if you really try and break it down as a chef and you start to think about all the things that what things take, like how long does it take for the dough to be made? How long does it take to roll it out? How long does it take to bake? How long does it take to get all these different layers? And to see that, I was like, I was not expecting someone to pull that off in that time. I would have expected someone to pull it off if they had bought the puff pastry, for sure. But to make your pastry on top of that just shows that, like, the confidence that you are going into it. And when you are performing a stunt, you have to be the most confident person on the camera to pull it off. And that's what really sang to it. It was just a confident dish, executed the perfect way that you could do it in that sort of amount of time. And so as soon as that, I believe that was like the first dish that I was there. I was like, damn, yeah, it's going to be really hard to come, to top this, but I was just, I've done the Wellington challenge before in a very different circumstance, but by no means any of the chefs on that challenge made their own pastry. And the confidence of trying to throw that one out there when you don't have to do it. Challenge. So no one's going to ding you for not making Wellington. And he ends up making one. And like I said, it's one of those dishes where you cut it and you already know whether if you're going to make it to the next round or you're going to go home. So kudos to Massimo for doing it. I mean, I've never met him before, so his spiel and talk at the judges' table kind of caught me off guard. But it was really
what caught you off guard? Is it the energy? Is it the joke? Like what about his presence caught you off guard?
I mean, after 2 seasons, we get after doing 2 seasons, we get a lot of chefs that are just like, this is my dish. But he was kind of like, so this is my dish, and I'm going to, there is a skill to Top Chef, and selling a dish is also, it doesn't give you all the points, but it does definitely, kind of give you a, a bonus point, I would say, just because it's like what Tom says. If you stuffed up something or you missed something on a plate, just don't say that you're missing something. There is a point to your explanation. This is your time to tell the jury, like, plead your case. And you can use that to your advantage, or you could really, highlight something that you stuffed up that you didn't want to. And by him trying to really go with the story, we already understood the story, but knowing that his story aligned with what we're seeing on the plate was even more incredible.
Well, Buddha, we can't eat the food. You did eat the food. So yes, the technical side of it, the preparation, the level of difficulty, all of that said, at the end of the day, it's got to taste good. So can you remember exactly, what really popped while you ate this dish? Because the story is great, the technique is great, but ultimately the flavors is what's going to carry you.
It was a dish where you just ate it and you think that no one had time restrictions. You'd be happy to eat this in any restaurant. And it was seasoned correctly. It was cooked perfectly. The puff pastry on the bottom was crispy. That's how you always tell a great Wellington's done, because it doesn't matter about all the hoo-ha that's on top, garnishes. The real execution is making sure that puff pastry on the bottom has texture, and it did. And every sort of salmon that was on the plate was cooked consistently, and there was nothing that we could say about it. There's nothing more that we wanted. There's nothing less. There's nothing missing. Everything was seasoned correctly. It was just a really, really well executed dish. In that time restraint, it was just kind of left everyone like, wow, you really went for it.
Question in terms of Vinny. So I'm a little bit torn. I'm kind of pro Vinny, but on the other hand, I kind of feel like a basic threshold for qualification and not going home should be whether the dish is actually edible or can be eaten. And so while I appreciate, and I know you clearly are somebody who always respects the spirit of the challenge. You're never one of those guys who chefs in the kitchen who's like, hey, I know there are these parameters, but if I serve something delicious, they're not going to care that it didn't have a story or a narrative or didn't conform to the parameters, whatever. That said, I don't understand how that can, as dysfunctional as Cesar's dish might have been, and I want to hear about it, its sweetness and lack of balance. I just, hey, at least it got into mouths. Right. Because if the argument is, oh, that was more, but Vinny was more truthful to the challenge or faithful to the challenge, then literally a special effects guy from the Universal lot could have come in. The guy's never picked up a spatula in his life, done something that was completely inedible, but boy, was it cool. And said, okay, but you congratulations. His was too sweet. Never mind that yours was inedible. You stay. That was sort of my big conceptual and philosophical issue with this verdict.
Kevin, before I hear Buddha's answer here, can you run through the dish and the ingredients to refresh his memory on Vinny and Cesar? The laser beams with breadstick keys. Can you just go through
I have it here. So Vinny did this beautiful thing with breadstick lasers and a golden key, and then you break the lasers over the beef tartare and beets and whipped foie and harissa because there's a dry ice, but he left it on his dry ice too long. He said 90 seconds when apparently a fraction of that will freeze beef. Whereas Cesar did an Arctic char with I believe a turmeric custard and some romaine jam. It was a miniature CN tower. And it was the consensus at the judges' table, and you can confirm this, is that it was just too sweet. That it just it ate too sweet. There was a lack of balance. So that was sort of the great debate at the judges' table. You're absolutely. Thank you, Tom. It was probably 7 or 8 months ago. So yes, to give you that refresher.
No, it's good. I mean, those two dishes were definitely that I remember because we're ultimately deciding and tossing and turning between those two chefs. But yeah, it's a very tough one. I understand where you're coming from. At the end of the day, it's an elimination challenge. If you can't put it in your mouth, you're automatically kind of going home. There's nothing really to judge. But I mean, there's a huge. I've thought about this for a while, and the only way that I can put it is format of how Top Chef's going and how quickfires really, really, become an important part of the elimination challenges eventually. So the thing is, where I try to grasp it, and me and Tristen, we were both on the side of like, we're very traditional in the way of like, we can't eat it. That person needs to go home, regardless of any chef. I mean, we've seen great chefs like Katiana's already gone. Katiana is a force. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, what you serve on a day is what you serve on a day. But we have now changed into the part. Now it's after Restaurant Wars, where your quickfire is accounted for your overall thing. And from what I got, because I was not at the quickfire, Kristen was there, is that if I was to break everything down into a point system, okay, and apparently Vinny had a really good dish, which actually did make top three or would have made top three in the quickfire. Cesar had a dish that was on the bottom.
Right.
So if you look at this at a point system, you got someone with two lows and you got someone with a high and a low. Even though that low was 0, if you even out those numbers, you're still going to... Vinny scored an 8. And if Cesar scored 2 3s, even though that Vinny got a 0 on his elimination, that 8 still beats the 6. And I was as a guest judge, it was kind of confusing for me because I was never there at that challenge. But for the main judges, it made sense for them, because if we really want to take this elimination quickfire thing seriously, this is the move that we have to go for, because both of them, one we couldn't eat, and one we just didn't like. We didn't know how it tied in with the challenge. We didn't know. We didn't like the flavors. Like, there was nothing really to like about it. It was more of like an experimental dish, which is fine, but at least make it somewhat cohesive and tasty. And that didn't really happen on the plate. Whereas, you being an edible, you give it a fat 0. So that's how I kind of got how we judged it. But it was confusing for myself and Tarzan because we were not a part of it. But as more as Tom here kind of explained it, the more I kind of understood it and thought this is probably going to be one of the most controversial episodes in history.
What are your thoughts about that? Like, you're a Top Chefologist. What are your thoughts about the quickfire being part of the elimination challenge verdict?
That definitely keeps all the chef testants on their toes for sure. If for myself, you should be gunning for every single challenge, and that's what Top Chef is. You can't just only win the finale. I feel like if you want to really have the full experience of Top Chef, you need to give yourself every single challenge. You can't just always flop at a quickfire, flop at an elimination challenge, and then make it all the way to the end and eventually win. For myself, I made a point to make sure that I won multiple challenges, multiple quickfires in towards the end, and then try and take out the crown, because I think that's definitely suiting for a Top Chef. But the quickfire being accounted for, I'm still very new to it. I was still trying to understand it. This is my first episode really seeing it. I do believe that last season, when this whole quickfire thing was trying to be accounted for, it did kind of get muddled up, and I can kind of see the reason why this season they're trying to like go, okay, we need to make a point that the quickfire really does matter. And 100%. So it makes the whole episode seem like a continuous elimination challenge, really.
Right. No, and I do like it for that reason. I really do. I like that there is an incentive, that the intensity is already dialed up when 2 minutes into the episode, when they start laying out the boundaries for the quickfire.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and thank you for giving us a peek behind the curtain there on just like the scoring system. That made a lot of sense to me. Is that you and Tarzan are struggling because you weren't there for the quickfire, but you recognize that that's part of the game and that's part of the rubric here that you're trying to use in your verdict on which chef to award the winning dish. And on this particular episode, it was Massimo. Massimo was in the bottom of the quickfire, not oceany enough with his smoked mussel sandwich with the tomato emulsion, zucchini blossom, wrapped in zucchini blossoms. I also thought it was fine. I think the judges actually liked the dish, but because it wasn't as good as Tristen, and I'm going to go there in a second, he was quote unquote in the bottom three. But I think it was a successful dish, so I don't think it cost him clearly it didn't because he won the episode. But I've been saying this all season, Buddha, that Tristan's on a Buddha-like run here. He is just mastering this game on a level that I didn't think could be touched. Melissa King in her All-Star season, you in your back-to-back seasons. I'm pretty sure that I'm willing to put Tristen in that same tier based on the fact that he has won so many challenges, not just, winning the challenges or being in the top three. He hasn't had a mistake on this competition yet. And so the floor, Kevin, right? The floor is extremely high on Tristen, not just the ceiling, but the floor is extremely high. And I'm wondering, Buddha, what are your thoughts on watching Tristen this season? And can you talk to us a little bit about his dish, the wings? I was trying to follow the whole Venom story that he was bringing, but he's been incredible this season, Buddha.
Yeah, Tristan's been fantastic. I think when I tried his dish, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And it was really cool to see because, I came off the Wisconsin Frank Lloyd Wright challenge. And as you can see, me and Kristen had to kind of go, hey, you guys didn't really understand the assignment. But
that's right.
Going into this, I didn't know what to expect. And yeah, it was a really great pool of chefs. And even when you look at Vinny's dish, that was a stunner. When it came out, we can get back to that and the whole science of that. But kudos.
Yeah, go ahead. I want to hear the science of Vinny's dish. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the science of Vinny's dish, I get what you're going for. The smoked, the lasers, perfect for the challenge. I had a story about it, and he had a classic combination of foie gras, beef tartare, pickled beets. It's a beautiful, done correctly. It sounds like a really beautiful plate of food, and everything that you want of it. The whole idea is that you had to get the key, and that was kind of like Mission Impossible, and whether it would have won, don't know. Couldn't taste the dish. Whether it would have been made, if it was edible, I think it would be top three for sure. Just because based on how much effort it went, and the performance and the stunt and the story that he kind of protruded into it, yeah, it was definitely a stunning looking dish. But the science of it is that if you don't remember and these are for the future Top Chef contestants that want to do this, in the NASA challenge, I pretended that I had an aluminum halo. Those halos are actually little stands that actually pops the dish up. So there's no contact with the dry ice. And the thing is, with Vinny's dish, there was no stand. It was just direct contact with dry ice. And so what happens is when you make that reaction, yeah, everything's going to automatically freeze. And I've done a bit of smoke effect with many of my dishes, in both seasons. But the thing is, you cannot have direct contact. And Vinny had direct contact from the bowl. And so that was automatically freezing, the beef tartare. On top of that, it was also foie gras.
Right. So what you're saying is even the slightest bit of elevation, a couple of inches of buffer, and he's fine.
Yeah, it's like, okay. Imagine it, it's just like anything when you put water inside ice, the contact that comes around it is going to be distributed. Where if you just literally put something on dry ice flat, it probably wouldn't have frozen. But once you start putting that water and it starts reacting, yeah, it's going to start freezing whatever's in there. And to be fair, the dish was a cold dish anyway, so you're already halfway there to getting it frozen. And then on top of that, you're also mixing it with foie gras, which is, we all know that when you put foie gras in the fridge, it's like butter. It melts outside of the fridge. It stays hard like a rock inside the fridge. So those sort of things did not help the dish at all. Tom got to eat it. I didn't get to try it so much because, his dish was kind of the last one I'm not sure if the first or last one, but by the time I got to try it, it did freeze quite fast, and I tried to get into there quite quickly. But yeah, if you're going to do the sort of presentation, you must have a buffer between your plate and the dry ice connection. Otherwise, it could be a great dish. It could be fantastic. It adds an effect that is really needed, and the whole smoke with lasers. I mean, we've seen every single sort of movie where there's like smoke and lasers coming out of something, and Mission Impossible is definitely that sort of theme for it. And yeah, if he had elevated the bowl from no contact with the dry ice, might be a different story.
Putting your Vinny relationship aside at L11 Madison Park, did you feel for him?
Oh, terrified. Yeah. I was like, damn. I know what he wanted to do. He wanted to like really pull out the guns, pull out all the stops. We worked together. He wanted to really go for it. There's like challenges that you just want to go for it. And, I can use this for the finale, whatever it is, but it's like me and Wiley Dufresne. It's like when I saw Wiley for the double Gengar challenge, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna pull out the big guns now. Like, there's a big gun chef. I really admire him. I'm going to go for it. And so I could see that Vinny put a lot of work into it. Like, he handcarved keys out of pickled beets. Like,
come on now. Yeah.
That's all. He didn't have a mold for that or a cutter. So kudos to him to it. But it's just, I definitely felt for him. But as a person who just loves Top Chef so much, that sort of bias comes out of the way, because there's so many chefs that I've cooked for, such as Claire, where I would rather them to be, if I was to win that challenge at Restaurant Wars and win that individually, I would want Claire for me to win out of my own right, rather than, I really like him, that's why it's going to win. I never want to win any challenge based on sympathy votes or some sort of connection. I just don't like that at all.
Do you tend to admire, like, your greatest admiration for fellow chefs? Is it the chefs that cook similarly to you and have a similar mindset and a similar approach and similar aesthetics, or the ones who are actually quite different?
I admire all chefs, to be honest. Yeah, that's a very I don't know, generic sort of answer, but I could watch someone fold noodles for hours, and I'd just be like, oh my god, that's so cool. And I could watch like Thomas Keller. Like, I just watched the Jamie Oliver on Netflix, Chef's Day, and it made me cry. Like, it was just so beautiful to watch. It's someone that inspired me when I was so young, and like just watching his journey through everything. And he by no means he's ever got a Michelin star or cooks the food that I do. I'm a person that loves all forms of food. I just happen to fall into the fine dining realm because I find this is the area that really pushes me and doesn't really give me a boundary, apart from just really trying to blow people's minds. But there's so many different layers of food that I love and appreciate. Chefs that I love and appreciate. So you caught someone that just doesn't really have like one specific way, and that will probably go back to Tristen, where you can see that this guy is the same like me, where he can put on so many different hats, which is fantastic, and that's what it takes to win. I mean, I'm not saying if he wins or not, but I'm saying that is the sort of chef that could win, and he is winning those challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Gone are the days where they walk into the studio and say, I don't know how to do a dessert. Gone are the days where it's like, that's not my wheelhouse. It's like, you enter this competition, you must know the show. Not everything has to be in your wheelhouse, but you have to at least know how to do it somehow, or manipulate it into the way that you can do it best. And I would say, in terms of like theme, Massimo did not put any theme out there. He just did his impossible version of a stunt. Like, and that's what, there's no bells and whistles, there's no smoke, there's no nothing. But he put his version of that. It didn't need to put smoke and lasers and stuff like that in the dish, because we can see it on that dish, and he did his interpretation of it. And I feel like I say it all the time, is that every challenge caters to every single chef. You just have to find that sweet spot of where you can put yourself into that challenge and really represent the challenge in the best way of cooking your style.
Buddha, I'm curious. I believe you lost your father 2 days before finding out that you were going to be on Top Chef. Tristen lost his stepfather, Russell, while on Restaurant Wars. And I'm wondering, you drew inspiration in trying to pay tribute to your father, your late father, and as a win behind your sails for your season. Is that as powerful as it sounds? You were talking about it on your season, but can you walk us through that journey of finding out and then dealing with this very real life moment? One of your bucket list things in life is to be on Top Chef, and how you psychologically dealt with that death and the trauma of that, but also trying to channel that into something that your father would be proud for.
Of course, I mean, watching that, obviously, I think everyone shed a tear. I mean, it's not the easiest to watch, because like I've been in that position before, and I can see that sort of look, outside looking in, going, okay, Tristen's kind of like me right now. He obviously has a goal and a mission, and it's very hard to turn it down, knowing that I don't know what his father was like, but my father was like, his family was backing him up, going, you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to stay in the competition. You got to keep going, because that's what he would have wanted. At the end of the day, yes, losing someone is really, really tough. But I used my father's passing into a way that it's like, I need to win this. Like, I'm not here to participate. I'm here to win, and that's why I entered Top Chef. And that definitely gave me a lot of support and a lot of push to get it done. I mean, obviously, I was still mourning him during the show. It can show that I was kind of more laser focused in making sure that I get towards the end and do what I need to do for my father. I kind of barely talked about it in the interview room, because I didn't want to let that phase me out of like what the goal and the mission was. And to see it go back out there and Restaurant Wars, it kind of feels like I totally understand what is going on and what's needed. It's what my father would have wanted, and he wouldn't have told me to like, oh, you need to step out of this opportunity. It's like I literally entered the competition because I wanted him to just watch me on television.
Oh, wow.
And because I get like a lot of happiness watching him be very proud of me. And it'll be like a little thing. It'd be like I got silver in a cooking competition when I was 16 years old, and he'd hang that up on the wall and be like, look, this is my son. He won silver. Like, or even if I participate, like, oh, this is my son. And it's like, then it got on to like, I got a photo with Gordon Ramsay, and I'm working at his restaurant, and he almost passed out. And so it's like, my dad, he worked 7 days a week. He did that to literally until his deathbed. And for me, going on television was like the ultimate goal. So he can watch it, because he would always ask me like, son, what are you doing in New York? Like, what are you doing in New York? It's like, Dad, you're going to see one day. I'm going to try and make it. And it's like, so that was my opportunity. He obviously passed away before we even filmed it, but it gave me a fire in the belly, and I went through the whole season, and that win was totally for him. And I was proud of myself. Even though I always said to myself, like, even though it's not a goal, even though the goal was always to make him proud and happy and try and show success to make him happy, it's like that goal has not changed since he's passed away. He's just in a different area watching. So it's like, my goal is still there. And that's why I'm sitting in this restaurant right now, and,
that's cool.
Continue that,
Wow. Kevin, any questions for Buddha on your debate last week, where we talked about Top Chef I want to see Top Chef Superstar, right? I want to see the Buddha Lowe's. I want to see Tristen Do you have any questions for Buddha on that front before we let him roll here? Because this is a superstar in the making here with Buddha Low. I mean, with Tristen, Freudian slip. I just feel like that's where he's in that conversation. So yeah, any last questions here for Buddha?
No, I mean, one question I guess I have in sort of listening is, did the Top Chef experience actually tangibly make you a better chef? Like, was it the boot camp training that, like, did you grow more? And I mean quite literally as a tactician in the kitchen, in terms of skill, in terms of was it like a concentrated cooking school in many ways? Like how much better did it make you in the restaurant world, or is it just simply the most fun diversion? And the truth is had I spent those several weeks training under, I'm kind of understand, like, to what extent does the Top Chef run actually make you improve your skills, actually improve your instincts, like improve you as a chef athlete, if that makes sense?
The thing is, the beauty about Top Chef is that it's a competition, and you actually don't improve. Like what you see is what you get, and
right.
That is a combination of where you've trained, who you worked under, how much time you put in the gym. It's like comparing it to sports. You know, no one's gonna, like, you get better in the gym and
right.
than you do on the field. Yes, you might learn a couple of things here and there, but on the Top Chef arena, you have to perform. Tom Clicker is not going to go, oh, maybe if you did this, you would have, and you go, oh, okay, well, I'll start writing that down. No, right. It's like, if you don't bring it, you don't bring it. And that's the beauty about a competition, is that it's not a masterclass. It's a competition, and it's either you win or you lose. And I think that's the beauty about Top Chef, is that it really highlights everything that a chef needs to be able to do. It's not like these competitions where you got 30 minutes, cook a dish, and see what you can come up with. You have to work in teams. You have to come up with restaurant ideas. You have to find out these problems that a normal chef would. It's like, you go to Whole Foods, there's no corn, and your whole dish is based on corn. Well, you got to pivot. It's like, okay, well, that's what a chef does. Like, you can't always rely on all these different things, all these different outcomes, who you're going to work with, who you're going to have to, the conflicts that happen, you have to manage. So all those sort of things, you can't just learn on the spot. You have to have already had these sort of communication skills, leadership skills, cooking skills under your belt before going to Top Chef competition.
Yeah, it's a demonstration. It's not an incubator. It's a demonstration of those skills.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to put it. And that's the beauty of it, and that's what I love about it. It really showcases where you're at in your career, and that's why I would never tell anyone to do it. Just jump onto the opportunity. Really, really make sure that you're ready to go for it, because Top Chef doesn't happen a lot of times to every chef.
Kevin, I know you got to jump. Any last thoughts here? I had a couple more questions for Buddha, if that's all right. If Buddha, you got a couple more minutes here.
No, Buddha, I look forward to making it Tribeca. I need to get to New York more. I've not been good at it, but I cannot wait to sample the stylings of Buddha Low in person. Finally, I need to make that happen in the next calendar year. It was wonderful seeing you.
Thank you.
Buddha, so I had on Pack Your Knives, someone made a comment, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on this comment here, because on the Substack, William Scar, one of our subscribers, a few days ago, having not watched this particular episode, he commented, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I want to preface this by saying I love both chefs, but when I think about the difference between Buddha and Tristen, what I think is this. Buddha was a master, but I always knew he was cooking for the competition. His food seemed very tailored toward the competition. Tristen, on the other hand, makes great food, but it's more subtle in how it fits into the competition. The competition was the destination for Buddha's food. On the highway of chefdom, winning the competition is just the overpass Tristen's food goes through on the way to its unknown destination. That was Williams' comment before this episode that he watched. I kind of felt like there was a turn here for Tristen in this episode where when he showed the timer onto the judges table, or when he presented his dish and said you have 30 seconds to extract this thing in Mission Impossible style, I felt like Tristen kind of turned a corner where it felt like he was really hyper tuned to Top Chef and the competition and the story and the theatrics and kind of tailoring not just his cuisine to making a great dish, but telling a story too. And I'm wondering on William's comment there, when Tristen's food was delicious, but did you appreciate that kind of that extra mile that he went to kind of make it very Top Chef and telling a story for the dish and the challenge itself?
No, I absolutely loved it. It was super cool. I mean, it's just I feel like, you know, his dish was definitely in conversation of like who should win. I think it was just the minimalist mastery of what Massimo tried to do and how he achieved it really kind of just kind of like silenced a lot of the other things that were going on. And that's what was really cool about it, because Tristen's dish was tasty. It was delicious. It was just that Massimo really kind of performed a stunt where it's like, if he one step, you know, if you were riding that motorbike over the cliff, like one step and you're out. Whereas Tristen's dish, if there was something that went wrong, we wouldn't even know, because like it was still delicious. If he forgot the sausage inside of this chicken wing, we wouldn't know. It'd still be delicious. Like, there is a kind of like a safety barrier within it. It was just a really smart dish to do at the right time, and that's what Massimo did. But I mean, yeah, me and Tristen, you know, when we look at it, I just see someone that's who should be in that sort of Top Chef realm. Like in my vision, sometimes watching Top Chef in the past, there was too many chefs that just kind of entered it, and I kind of didn't understand if they understood why they're there. Like, we go through 3 months worth of interviewing to even get on the show. Mm-hmm. And how you don't know a dessert or a cookie or something like that. You know, I hope when I did season 19 and 20 that I could inspire other people to want to learn other things, because even in my restaurant right now, I don't have a pastry chef. I am the pastry chef. I do all the desserts. Like, I want people to see that through the competition, that like I am someone who knows how to cook desserts, and that's how I'm going to be known as, you know, a great chef. And hopefully that inspired people, and those are the people that I hope to inspire, which was, you know, someone like Tristen, who will come onto the show and just absolutely just go for it. And I mean, I feel like we keep talking about him like he's already won, but it's hard to not talk like that when you're in the top and winning that much.
He's second all time through this point in the season in terms of Carly has her point system that gives you credits for finishing in the top 3 in the quickfire, and you get debits for finishing in the bottom 3 in quickfire, and also the elimination challenge points. We can quibble with the actual point distributions, but at the end of the day, I don't think you need a rubric or a point system to understand that winning 4 out of 5 competitions in any stretch, where the 5th one that you didn't win, you probably had the best dish because Tom Colicchio said it was the best thing he's ever eaten, or one of the best things ever eaten on the competition. Gregory Gourdet, in his competition, I think his first season on the show, is the only one that has outnumbered in this point system at this point in the competition. And guess what? He didn't win his season. So it still very much is a marathon, not a sprint. On that note, I feel like Tristen hasn't brought out some of his signature dishes, or I haven't heard him say like, oh, this is something I cook all the time that like I know is going to be a showstopper. He doesn't even like his food half the time that he's cooking. He's just like, I don't even like pickles. I don't like this figgy duff thing. That's why I feel like he's better suited than most people at this point in the competition. It does feel like he has another level to get to because it doesn't seem like he's brought out the big guns yet.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. You know, halfway through the competition, and you do need to save some things towards the end. And yeah, it's like even when I did the marry me pasta or the Nigerian stews, things that I didn't even know like I was going to be having to cook, and I cooked it and managed to do pretty well in it. Like I don't barbecue. I'm not a barbecue master by any means, but still was able to get top 3. So it's those sort of challenges that can obviously surprise you and obviously might even give you an upper hand because you're just so, you know, unstuck to the traditions of things where you just go, you know what, this is what I'm going to do for the challenge. But
yeah,
it just shows that what you need for the competition is that you need to be versatile. You need to understand different cuisines. You have to understand different cooking styles. You've got to be able to make a pizza, and you also got to be able to make something that's also really cool, creative. And that's what makes the show exciting. I feel the most exciting that the show gets when the food is so cool, not when it's like there's a ton of drama and things are happening. I couldn't care about, you know, stuff. I want to see what someone's cooking and how they did it and the thought and the idea behind it. So that's what's really cool about Top Chef and how they've turned that sort of page into that sort of realm. And I cannot keep waiting to see the seasons to come.
Yeah, because I do think that Tristen, as good as he is, he hasn't won the whole thing yet. He finished in the top 3 here with Massimo, and we haven't even talked about Bailey. But I felt like you would really admire Bailey's kind of doppelganger tiramisu lasagna here. We haven't even talked about it, but we also had Schweiz that we haven't talked about. But first, Bailey, any thought the savory crepe lasagna that was like a tiramisu fugazi? It was very surprising, and the kind of stunt double aspect of it, I feel like you would really appreciate and admire.
Yeah, it was really cool to see like that sort of double ganger sort of dish come out. I think the only sort of critique that we could have had from it is that, you know, it did feel kind of more catered to that sort of a challenge. We were still trying to find that sort of, you know, stunt / factor. And that's what we saw in the other dishes of like, what does a stunt mean to you? And this is more of like a, you know, it's a stunt double, but it's not a stunt. The stunt hasn't performed the stunt. But it was a real cool creative dish. But yeah, it was kind of like hard to focus when we got that salmon Wellington at the start.
and the turducken from Shawai where he oh, and Lana too. We didn't do the fried fish basket with the little heart pipettes thing that she did, and the critique that we saw on the edit was if you closed your eyes, you wouldn't have imagined the fried fish basket, and the connection there to the story didn't come forward enough. It was deconstructed, but in terms of the challenge itself, didn't kind of land in the same way that some other dishes did. So Lana, any stray thoughts on Lana's the heart pipettes, which I thought was cool, but also Schweiz turducken, Buddha.
So Lana's dish, I mean, we saw what she was going for, but at the end of the day, when we did close our eyes, kind of felt like a, you know, it's obviously a dish that she's done for a very long time, and it's a very tasty iteration. You know, it's a very tasty original dish. But when we got it, it kind of felt like a least successful version of that dish. And it's okay to like try and do something different and recreate it, but if you do something like that, it has to at least taste like the original, or if not better. And it didn't hit that way. It just kind of felt confusing on what the stunt was actually performed or what the risk taking was. We're doing a dish that is from a childhood, and we put it, you know, the sauces inside the pipettes. So it wasn't a terrible dish by any means, right. But it dish that just kind of like went, oh yeah, this is definitely in the running for winning. It's and then Shui's dish, the turducken. I mean, it did run a bit dry from what I remember, and it was just once again, it was just, I don't know, I didn't really feel like there was much risk taken. It was kind of like, I'm going to do a turducken.
Yeah.
It wasn't, and believe it or not, the turducken could be really cool, but it just needed to be like executed a lot nicer in that sort of version. It's like, you gave us a turducken, but it didn't, there's so many layers that you could do it to make that thing look a lot nicer and portray the story. But it wasn't the worst. It
was the middle. It was a middle tier. It was in the middle. Yeah, it was fine. I thought it was interesting. Lana, if she didn't get quote unquote immunity from her quickfire performance win,
yeah,
do you think she would have been sent home?
No.
So she was in a tier above even without the quickfire.
I mean, the real discussion was between Cesar and Vinny, and my automatic reaction, not being able to eat the dish, I kind of drew straight to Vinny. But I am not there every day. I am not one of the main judges, so I cannot
speak towards to something you didn't eat either. It's just something that you weren't there for. Yeah,
I can't try it. I mean, that's kind of, I'd say, the most debatable. Another debatable thing is like, well, what's the point of the guest judges if they're not there for the quick fire as well? Because they're kind of making a decision based on something that we've never tried before. Maybe that's something that needs to be changed, in future seasons where the guest judges are a part of the elimination, so they can also weigh in on the overall elimination. But it was a very interesting moment when we had to make that decision because, well, like I said, we're all confused on the part of it. Even Tristen was on the part of like, no, you can't eat the dish, it's out. And she's still set in her old Top Chef ways, and I'm still set in my old Top Chef ways. We're like, nope, you can't eat it. We're guaranteed. Like, if as a contestant, you're like, oh, no one can actually physically eat the dish. Oh, that person's going home. No problem.
I'm getting the sense that there was a split there at judges' table where Gail and Tom were more of the, hey, we got to incorporate the quickfire here.
Yeah, exactly. It was a huge split on it because I don't know. It's just like I don't recall this ever happening on Top Chef ever. Like where a dish is frozen, stuck to the bowl, and you physically cannot eat it, and it wasn't like it was supposed to be like a frozen dessert either. It was like ice cold meat popsicle. It's like I can't eat it, nor would a meat popsicle be tasty. I don't see myself going into the freezer, getting a piece of beef and just like chewing on it. But after the explanation and the point system that I kind of drafted in my head, I don't think they drafted a point system in their head, but I drafted it, and I was like, okay, that makes sense of why Cesar was going to go home.
It's a little more art than science, which I think for our brains and quantifying this, and it feels like it's a little harder to wrap your head around. But once you do kind of break it down into the point system and the aggregate score, it makes sense. You're coming to us from HUSO in Tribeca. Talk to us about your restaurant, the move, and how things are going before I let you go.
I mean, I love it. A lot of Top Chef fans know that I cooked in a retail space with no induction. With an induction and an oven with no vents. And now I've got a full operating restaurant. I absolutely love it. Tribeca is such a beautiful neighborhood. We're right across the road from Washington Park. We got this beautiful sunlight that drapes into the dining room every afternoon, especially now that it's coming into summer. But I'm just getting, it's like, it really is a dream. It's like, I cooked for Eric Repair last week. Come on.
Wow.
Eric Repair's eating in your restaurant in New York City. Like, that's insane. It's like a pinch me moment for sure. And I've got another person coming in tonight. His name's Paul LeBrand, another guy that I really look up to, a huge heavy hitter of the New York culinary scene. So it's really fun to just be able to get these people that you've always looked up to and admired and go, oh, this person's coming in tonight. You know,
Are you shakier plating the dish when you know it's going to Paul or Eric?
I mean, those not so much. Padma did come in the other week, and yeah, that was kind of nerve wracking. I don't know why I've cooked for her so many times, but it's like she's got one of the, I would say, if not the best palate I've ever experienced in my entire career. She just knows everything that a food needs to be delicious. Like, all of her points are just valid. She's such a smart person. It's like, this person needs to be the New York Times critic at this point. It's just, her palate's incredible. I would listen to her through judges' table, even though it's not my dish. And the comments, the feedbacks, I'm like, she just hits every single one. And it's like, there's like a touch of salt missing. Even if I did it on purpose, it's like, she picks up on it. It's like,
wow. Yeah.
Like, I've cooked for like 3 Michelin star chefs, you know, and would do tastings. And sometimes I'd purposely do some things just to see if they're on it. And they'll be like, yeah, everything tastes good. I'm like, but this actually needed a little bit of this. Like, Padma's actually like, yeah, it needed this. It's like, you got
it. Need a little hit of acid, and you're like, you know what? I left that Easter egg for you, Padma.
Yeah. And you're absolutely correct. That's what it needed. Like, if someone forgot something or knew that something stuffed up, it wouldn't be production. She would just taste it like, this needed this, you know, and it's just her knowing the background of like all these different varieties of food is just really, really cool to see. It's just like, she understands, and especially from not a chef background. It's, that's what I admire the most, is like, she talks to me like a chef, but she's not a chef, but she knows a ton of food and she can cook. I mean, I mean, after the Indian challenge, which I, you know, totally face planted in that one, she came around and cooked everyone dal. And when you ate the dal, it was like, no joke, it was like the best dal you would ever eat. And it's like, I've ate a lot of Indian restaurants, but when you eat it, you might just think it's a bowl of dal, but when you eat it, you're like, everything in here is technically perfect. Like the spices are toasted off perfectly. It's seasoned correctly. It's got the right texture. And we're just drinking this out of like a little, you know, little to-go, you know, a little deli plastic container. And I couldn't stop eating it. It was just so delicious. And it's just like, this person can really cook and understands the science behind cooking.
Yeah, I can understand now. Not just Padma's walking in that door. Obviously, you're going to be there's Padma, but also you want to impress her because she's a critic, a New York Times critic at that kind of level, like you said. I don't think I knew that that she was on that level, but you could tell from watching the show. She knows her stuff way around a kitchen. Obviously, if you follow her on Instagram and watch her on her shows, she's incredibly talented as a chef and not just someone that is great on television and has that presence about her. But she checks every box. Is just what a wonderful person to walk into your restaurant and serve for you, Buddha. So good luck on your service tonight, and I can't wait to go to HUSO and try it out next time I'm in New York City.
Oh, please do. Doors always open for you guys, so cannot wait.
Thank you, Buddha. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for coming on. And this was really fun. And you did a great job. It's really hard after not watching the episode to do this. So thanks again for doing it.
It's definitely, you know, tonight I'll have a refresher of everything. Can't wait to see it after I finish work. But yeah, it's a little hard trying to rehash it, the dishes specifically. But it was a fun time in Toronto. So it was really cool to just catch up with all the crew again and see what everyone's up to in the season of Top Chef.
Would you like to be on Top Chef again if they ask?
Oh yeah, absolutely.